Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. Tonight, I'm very excited. I'm joined by a legend, Aazim. Aazim, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm honestly really excited to do this. We've been trying to do this since like last Ramadan, I think, or even before. So this is
Yeah.
definitely something I'm looking forward to. Something I wanted to begin talking to you about was how we actually first met. I think it's so funny or interesting because I must have been like in seventh or eighth grade and I had like a group of friends. And
Mhm.
there's this neighborhood by the mosque, and we were going out ding dong ditching houses. And a couple of my friends ended up doing that to your house. And then me and this other dude were
You
like
were there?
walking. Yeah, and then they chase after us like, yo, run, run, run. So we run with them. We don't know what's going on. And you pull up with your car and you go speeding and you start yelling at us, get in the car right now, this and that. And I thought like, wow, that's such an interesting like thing. That's how we met. But here we are, like just friends. How interesting
Dude,
is that?
yeah,
Do you remember
I
that story?
actually, dude, I don't remember you being a part of that. Like, I remember only two people from that night. That was because I went and dropped them off at their parents' houses. Where you were there, right?
I was there. I was in your
Yeah, you
car.
were. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were in my car. And then I think one parent just kind of dismissed what happened. And I think that was a little bit of me like seeking vengeance, to be honest, wanting retribution for having Ding Dong ditch my house. And yeah, not a good thing on my end. But yeah,
Well, hey,
essentially,
it's cool,
yeah,
because yeah, ding dong ditching, man. I remember that was probably the last night I ever ding dong ditched. But what was interesting about that night was like I don't remember being like angry at you. I was just sitting in that car, I was like, oh, so this happened. But I think what's even more interesting about this is that all your brothers are cool, but it seems like of all of them, I connect with you the most. Like, and it's so interesting because I don't see you that much. But that's just how we
yeah,
first met. And it's like, what an interesting
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. It is kind of funny. Like, what's crazy is, or I can't even imagine that. Like, I'm remembering that night, and I don't remember you. I can't imagine that you were a part of that. That's really funny to me. Because in my head, I'm like, you weren't even one of them. I
Yeah.
just I just remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I just remember.
man. That's just how I started talking to you, just getting caught. It's hilarious. It's so interesting. But yeah, things happen.
Yeah,
You don't know, but people meet in different ways, and some connections just continue in their own interesting ways. But another thing I wanted to discuss with you, which I thought was so interesting, is you and I were talking one time, and you said to me, "Hey, bro, once you're married, you're a simp." And I was like, "Damn, that's something profound." Do you mind expanding on that?
sure. Um, I will say this. Well, one, that was a quote from a year ago. Uh, two, I don't know, I don't know lingo, new generational lingo that well, but like that idea of being a simp, maybe I may take that back, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, I'll say this, like my in my own marriage, I will say that maybe I thought being a simp was or just like always um what's the word? Trying to keep my wife happy or just just always letting her be the leader, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I will say that like I no longer try to uh keep my wife happy in a sense. It's more so I just like I can't make her happy, right? That's Allah, that's God. Allah is the one that keeps her happy. I just do what I can. But man, it's like a very interesting like thought process. I wish I could explain it in words. I hope it makes sense, but like yeah, like I can't make my wife happy. Like she only Allah can do that for her. I can do actions you know to help facilitate that. Um but at the end of the day like, you know, I could try to do everything right and she still could be upset. But as long as I did what I could on my end, like I'm just like, all right, I did what I could. And the other thing about like the whole simp situation is like I think when I first got married, like I just wanted to do everything with my wife. Um, you know, I wanted to be her best friend. I wanted her to spend time with me like 24/7. Um, and honestly, like I realized it was a little selfish of me. Um, you know, uh, and like now, like where I'm at now, like I realize like my wife has a life outside of me, like outside of just our marriage. Like she has her own friends, everything. I know this might be like very like obvious to certain people, but for me it wasn't. It took me a while to figure it out, but like yeah, like now I don't really simp. It's just me and my wife are two people who have come together and I am just here to support her in whatever decision. Like even to today, like I don't. She told me she had. Well, she didn't tell me. She sent me a picture of her GPS, like on the car, and so like I was like, oh, okay, so she's going hanging out with some friends or something. Like I don't know her plans. I don't know her schedule, but like if she wants to do something, like it's like okay, like you do you, and like I will say like because I was insecure in myself, like I'd be like I'll be honest with you. She had like one friend that she would hang out with all the time, and like I was jealous. I was really jealous, and I learned to like really just be okay with myself, validation of myself. Like what does Azim like? What does Azim want to do? And like now that I've kind of found like my own like self, like we're just two independent people who are just kind of like just there to support each other along the way. Um, so yeah, I hope that kind of explains how I don't believe that statement I made before.
But the
Yeah,
interesting thing is, I love that statement. When you first said it to me, I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool." I wrote it down, and I think for me, it's like you don't have to hide that you're a romantic anymore, or something like that. That's kind of the way I took it, and I just thought it was a beautiful statement. Whether you've taken it back or not, it's like I love that statement. It's like your quote. It's really cool. But
that is really interesting.
yeah.
No, no, it's interesting how like a year later, I'm reinterpreting my own statement, and then like how you interpreted it is like also different. Like, yeah, honestly, like I don't have to hide that I'm romantic anymore. Like, I wish I was as romantic as my wife would want me to be. I don't know that I am. I try. Um, but as as far as like, yeah, like I have no problem now, like being, yeah, just like you said, being romantic. Like I don't hide it. I'm just happy. So,
It, it's
and
a really
that's
beautiful
with my
thing.
wife. Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually reminding me of another thing that we discussed one time, where I was telling you, out in Cyprus, I sometimes feel like my hand is held. Like everything is
Mhm.
just so familiar that I feel like my hand is held. But when I go out to different parts of Houston or anywhere else, it's like the world is telling me, like, or asking me, hey, who are you? And it kind of demands you to show who you really are. And then you get to show it. And so I don't remember what your response was to that. Do you feel like when you're in Cyprus, your hand is held, and when you leave, you feel more adult, or what do you think?
Um, I think I remember that feeling.
Do you
You
remember that
know,
conversation that we had that one time?
I do remember. I don't remember the response. I don't
Yeah.
remember the response. But I will say that y- yes, in a way, like I guess like I grew up in a bubble, I would say, and like getting out of that bubble, it's like, oh yeah, I'm an adult. I do adult things. Um, and yeah, I will say like it's really interesting because like you meet people, like you have a life outside of the bubble, and like that's like you are venturing out, like because that bubble was just given, at least to me, it was just given to me. Like this is everything, everyone I grew up around, and then like all of a sudden, as an adult, I have the choice to go outside of that bubble. I have a choice to meet different people, see different perspectives,
Yeah, and
and
when you escape that bubble, at least for me, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
yeah, no,
It's as
I'm not
if
saying,
like there's things that you're not consciously hiding about yourself, but they're just hidden from you because you're in that bubble. So when you leave that bubble, they just kind of come out and you're like, wow, I didn't know this was me. Like there's times where like I'll be in Austin and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like an actual like man. It's crazy, you
mhm.
know? It's
Yeah,
it's interesting. For me like that, at least.
yeah, yeah. How old are you, by the way? I forget.
23.
23. Okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember that, like that experience. Uh, you know, when in my early 20s. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Like it's like wow, this is like a whole different world. I'm an adult. Like I get to make my own decisions, and like whether or not they're the wrong or right decisions, I have the choice in making them. Like so, even if like it bites you later on, like it's like, well, I made that decision. And being okay with that. So I think that it's a cool experience, man. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Those choices
Yeah.
are so easy to make in video games, you know, because you're like, oh, I can save here and I know like if I do this and I die, I can come back. But like real life, it's a different thing. I
Yep.
have to
Yep.
decide.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say though now, like I'm fully adult now, so it's like I don't know. And also I made a choice to come back to the bubble. Um that's also an interesting thing. It's because being an adult is hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you like being in the bubble or do you prefer being outside? Of course, there's pros and cons and on both sides. But
So I'll say this. I've started formulating my own bubble. If that kind of makes sense. Like I grew up with certain friends growing up because like it's just who we were stuck around. Like I didn't have a I wouldn't say I didn't have a choice. I guess I didn't realize I had a choice. And like I just grew up, with certain people. Had a choice of friends. Didn't realize I had a choice in that. And I think now I'm at a point where like I can choose who is in my life and who's not, who is healthy for me and who's not. Actually, yeah. A big thing for me lately is like, and I'm learning this now, but I'm still glad that I've learned it. Is like I'm learning how to set my own boundaries for myself. Like, I am not. I like using this term. I'm not spiritually fit enough to be around certain people.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like
What does that
some,
mean?
it depends. Like, can my I'll give it like this. My whole life I've let my emotions control me. Um, Lately I've been learning how to control my emotions. Alhamdulillah. And that's all, for me, I give credit where credit is due, and that's to Allah. Um, you know, uh, Allah has been helping me lately in terms of, excuse me, kind of a spiritual journey, where basically this is going to go on to a whole tangent. But my whole life, I've kind of lived as if I'm the center of the universe. And uh, I'll give an analogy. Like I thought that like the world I lived in, I was the center of the universe. I was essentially the director of a theater, wanting the lights a certain way, wanting characters to say certain lines, and when things didn't go the way I wanted them to, I would throw a fit. I would have problems about it. Yeah, it would eat me up. Something that happened to me, like maybe like on a Monday, I would hold on to that for like probably like 2 weeks. Um, and like now I'm just lately learning like how to let things go. Um, and like really just like realizing that I have a new manager. Like I'm no longer in charge of like my life. Like I am, but like I have a new manager. That's Allah. Like I let him, certain things happen. Like today, uh, I had a really light workload this week and I was really happy. Alhamdulillah, it was really nice. And then today I got bombarded with something. And next Friday, uh, me and my wife were planning to go out of town and I already put in a request to leave early. And like this came in and I was just like, man, this like it was like this ruins my plans. Like work is gonna be chaotic next week, everything. And then I just kind of like I had to step outside real quick and I like surrendered myself to Allah and I was like, all right, if this is what you want, like I'll just roll with it. And then I made an adult big boy decision, put my big boy pants on, and I said, okay, it's a Friday. I could leave early, but I'm just gonna stick it out. I'm gonna stick around till 5 and work now, so that way next week, and I may potentially even work tomorrow, just to lighten my workload next week to make life somewhat more manageable for me to have the thing that I do want, as opposed to being like, corporate sucks, the system sucks, everything sucks, it's all against me. I can never have what I and it's like this is kind of insane. And this goes back to being spiritually fit. That term. I got hit with workload today. Like I got hit with a last minute request, and was I spiritually fit to handle it? Right, like human emotions are natural. Like right, like it's natural to be angry. But what am I doing with that anger? Am I holding on to it? Am I turning it into a resentment? Um, and that's kind of where being spiritually fit comes in for me. Is I chose to handle it uh, in a way that helped me. By one giving it up to Allah, and so I will say that now I feel spiritually fit to handle my workload. Um, and this applies also to people I'm around. Uh, Sometimes because of my history with certain people, um, you know, like I'll give an example. Growing up, I've always been afraid of my dad. Uh, he's intimidating sometimes. So whenever my dad sends a text, um, the thing is, my dad is very proper in his text messages. No grammatical errors, nothing, periods at the end of every sentence. Um, and I would read his text initially in a negative perspective, in an unspiritually fit manner. And anything that he texted me, I would just take it the wrong way. I would just be like, oh, he's out to get me. Oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, this, that. And then some, like, late, yeah, just probably recently, like, I just learned, like, okay, my dad's just texting me and just giving me information. Like now I'm spiritually fit to handle his text messages. It's a very simple and complex concept at the same time. But like being spiritually fit, trying to be spiritually fit, it takes a long process. That's what makes it complex. But it's a very simple like idea. It's just, am I spiritually fit? Um, I'll say I had the opportunity a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. I had the opportunity to go play basketball with some people, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm spiritually fit enough to play basketball with these guys, and that was because there's like one person, and like genuinely, like I have no issues or bouts with him. May Allah like bless him. Like he's an amazing guy. He's a good guy. But for me, I just know that when he's competitive, it gets under my skin. And when he's being competitive, it it just puts me on edge, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm allowing myself I'm allowing my emotions to control me. And so I am not spiritually fit. Like there's no issues with him being competitive. Like that's not his fault. Like he's just competitive. Like I'm not gonna blame him for being competitive, but I know what that does to me. And I just know I'm not spiritually fit to play basketball with this guy. It just is what it is, and that's okay.
I really
And
love
that's kind of how
this.
I can deal.
It's amazing
I
that you're
appreciate
saying this because it's acknowledging that you should be aware enough about the situations that you should remove yourself from or distance yourself from, people you should distance yourself from. And just like you said, it might not necessarily be that that person or that circumstance is bad. It's just you yourself are not there to deal with it the right way. And I love it because I think about that a lot too. Like there's some people they're not bad people, but I don't vibe with them. And sometimes I feel guilty for being distant from them. But it's like, hey, I'm not spiritually fit to be here, to be interacting with you, to be giving my best version to you. You know, it's amazing
Yeah.
that you're sharing this. So that
Yeah.
idea of guilt, does it come to you when you find yourself distancing yourself from certain people or situations? And if it does, how do you deal with that?
So it also does, there's two things that play in. One is as far as like me saying, "Oh, I'm not spiritually fit enough to deal with this person because he's competitive." Um, it depends on like that's one aspect. Me just saying I'm not spiritually fit. But the second thing that comes in is a character defect of mine. I'm judgmental of people. I am. That's also just a human nature thing. You know, it's just human nature. We make opinions. And but am I right? Like I have to evaluate myself. Like, am I being judgmental of this person? If I am, then I make dua for him. Like, just like that same guy. You know, he's a competitive guy. Maybe I will say that there are certain things about him that I am judgmental about, and like honestly, like he's not a bad dude. For whatever whatever action, like how he uh goes about himself, like that's fine, like. And I honestly, the best way that I handle it, uh advice was given to me. Make, like, how we say, even in Islam, wish for your brother what you wish for yourself. Like I have been told, make dua for the person that you're being judgmental of, and wish for them everything that you want for yourself, like everything. And then I make dua, and then like that allows the negativity in my heart towards that person to diminish. Like it's like, honestly, great person, everything. He's a great guy, right? Like, because it's like, why don't I want to be around this person? I could either say that I don't want to be. I could use the same term, not being spiritually fit enough, and it could come from a place of being angry towards this person, or compassion towards this person. He's a great guy. He has certain things about his character that that doesn't go well with me. It's not where I want to be. And like he can let go, right? Like I'll just say it. He's a he trash talks, and what's amazing about him is that he can trash talk in the most like cutting edge manner. Like dude, his like tongue is like a sword, and like boom. And after he gets off the basketball court, he's fine. Like no issues, no bouts whatsoever. But in my head, I'm like, you said this. I I hate you, you know? And like it's like that's a me problem. That's not a you problem. Something someone else has, I've been getting advice a lot lately, from different people. And one person, he also, it's always, I've been told, Azim, it's not their problem that they're like who they are. It's not them, it's you, right? Like it's me. It's not a you problem, it's a me problem. Like him being a trash talker, right? Like, yeah, he might say some ugly things, but he can do it and let it go. Me, he says those things, man, I'm gonna hold that. And because that's a problem with me, like, I, again, going back to it, am I choosing to not play basketball because I don't like him? for trash talking, or is it really because, may Allah bless this guy. I have great compassion for him. He's a really good basketball player, and I am just very also strongly competitive, and it can have an effect on me. So I'm just not gonna play because I'm just not spiritually fit enough. So
Wow.
yeah, I hope that kind of answers it.
It's a cool response. Something that it reminded me of was something in the vein of wish for your brother the same as you wish for you. There's this Australian YouTuber, Struthless, and he once said that he started anytime he would like make food, prepare plates, he'd give the better plate to the guest and he'd take the other one for himself. And I started experimenting that for like a year, 2 years now. And oh my God, does it change things, you know? So just like you said, when you wish the best for someone else, it has an effect on you. I mean, you become
Yeah,
so much at peace, you know? And another thing that I've noticed about situations similar to these is um, the power of acceptance, of accepting the reality of these things. Like, man, I'm not spiritually fit. Because when you accept, you're suddenly liberated. Now, like, at least as I found, you feel very like free, very fluid to interact with these people as well. Because you're just
yeah,
not harboring these things anymore. You're just accepting it for what it is. Do you have experience with
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. I'll give this example. Um, Growing up, there was this one dude who was just like an outright bully. I will say this, right? I believe everyone is spiritually sick. A saying that I've also heard is justice for everyone or mercy for everyone. Do I want justice towards this bully? Yeah, I do. But if I say justice for everyone and mercy for everyone, everyone includes myself. And if Allah has had mercy upon me, then honestly, I would want it for everybody else too. Um, and the same thing, right? Like the liberation of it. Um, Basically, the same guy used to bully me when I was growing up. You know, our families are friends, so like, just kind of maintained a level of respect, I
Propriety.
guess. Yeah, yeah. Let's put it that way. And after, like, I recently started coming back to like Bear Creek, this side of town. Uh, One day I went for Juma. Oh yeah, remember last year? I think it was last year. Did you see my highlights? Like I
Oh
had
yeah, the purple
gotten,
hair. Wow.
yeah, the purple. Yeah,
Amazing. Amazing stuff.
yeah. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was something my wife, that I participated with her in. And it was just like really fun. It was a cool experience, and I got to share that experience with my wife. And honestly, like, I will say, right, this goes back to me being a simp. My wife likes it, I like it. It's awesome.
I love it.
And yeah, that's all that mattered to me. I went to Juma one day, and after so many years, I see this guy. I'm like, oh hey, assalamu alaikum. What's going on, man? And he just starts laughing at me. And I was just like, huh? And then he was like, oh, you dyed your hair, huh? And I was like, yeah, I did. He was like, oh, you think it looks cool? It looks nice. And he's like laughing at me as he's saying that. I was like, yeah, actually, I got kind of defensive. I was like, yeah, actually, I do think it looks nice. My wife likes it, so you know, I like it too.
You were rocking
Um,
it.
yeah, I felt good about it. Like, I I liked it, and um, and this again goes back to another character defect: validation in others versus validation in myself. What others people's opinions of me shouldn't matter, but in that moment, I felt some type of way, and that was a flaw of mine that you know I felt hurt by what he was saying, because all of a sudden, like, I'm not getting validation. I'm being made fun of. I didn't like that. And I realized, like, man, like, it was like really bothering me. He walked in to go make wudu. I went in to make wudu, and then, like, I sat there, like, as I was making wudu, I was like, man, I need to let this go. And I turned and I went up to him and I just shook his hand, and I was just like, "Assalamu alaikum, man." And, like, I just smiled at him, and, like, and in that moment, like, I was just able to let it go in that moment. And obviously, me bringing this back up, maybe I haven't fully let it go. Who knows? But at the end of the day, like, just like I said, justice for everyone or mercy for everyone. Here, all I see is just a person that's spiritually sick, right? Like, this guy that did that to me, he's always been a bully. Like, some people just suck, um, and it's okay. Like, but at the end of the day, like, all I see is just a spiritually sick person, and something, like, kind of happened to me, uh, that Juma, like, you know, I realized we're praying to the same one God. Everything at the end of the day, like, we're all just trying to get closer to Allah. Like, that's it. And, like, and sure, he may have his flaws, and yeah, like, it's okay. It's okay that he has his flaws. Like, he might be mean, he might be a bully, but, like, he deserves mercy just like anybody else. Like, just like anyone else, he deserves mercy just as much. And, like, just by me shaking his hand, just me realizing we're both we both came to Juma for the same reason, is to get closer to God. Like, that's it. And I was I've been better able to let go of things, um because, like, now I know, like, when I see him, I will say, I there's like a little bit of, like, hesitation when I see him. Like, I should probably, and that's because I know, man, if he says something, I'm not spiritually fit to hear it. Like, that is what it is. But at the same time, we're both spiritually sick, and I just make dua. Like, you know, like, allow him to, get what he wants, and allow me to get what I want.
Amazing.
And yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing this. Oh my God, we are running so low on time. We have like a minute left. Um,
Are you serious?
I am serious. I need to start upgrading to pro, man.
Oh
Can you
man.
still see
Okay.
me?
Yeah, I can still see you.
Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but I just wanted to ask, actually, do you have time to keep going or are you done here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, you have time to keep
Absolutely.
going?
Dude, I'm awake now. It's
Okay,
because I
okay.
I ate late. I was eating at like 8 p.m. I usually, like, just have like a little bit, but, like, dude, I ate like a whole plate of wings. So I'm wide awake now.
Great, 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 great. Okay, let's continue this. It's gonna
All
end,
right.
but it'll give us a
Mm,
10-minute break and then we can jump back on. So take a
solid.
10-minute break and I'll text you when we're ready to get back on.
That was good.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this.
All right, brother. That non-camera.
Say that again?
I love that non-camera uh picture that you had.
Yes, yes, the chubby Brad Pitt. Yeah, it's a very iconic picture. You know what's really funny about that actually? Um, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he does like this little book club thing, and it's all virtual on Zoom, right? And so like I
Mm,
joined it, and they send out a link like once or twice a month. And for this one, I attended, and I had to ask him a question, but I didn't turn on my camera. It was just that chubby Brad Pitt. So I enter the room, and you see like people's faces, like that had their cameras on. They're like all laughing and stuff, trying to hide their laughter. And then I raised my hand on the Zoom thing, and I ask him a question, and you literally see, there's Hamza Yusuf right here, there's a chubby Brad Pitt, and I'm asking him this question, and he's giving me a serious answer. It's hilarious. Hilarious.
Oh man, that is interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah. But
No, that's
I've
cool.
been enjoying the trajectory of this conversation. The things you're bringing to the table, I think a lot of people can relate to them. You know,
Yeah,
and I I had a friend in medical school who said that he had some friends and he was tight with them, but they all turned out to be backstabbers. And this seriously hurt him. They were trying to set his reputation on fire. And the way that he got over that was he just accepted. He's like, you know what? These people are terrible. They're backstabbers. They're out to get me. But I accept that. And I'm still going to be nice to them. I'm still going to be compassionate and deal with them in a respectful way, even though that's how they treat me. And when you shared your story earlier, it reminded me of that. And I think the beauty of it all is it all goes back to Prophet, peace be upon him. That's just how he dealt with people. People that would do
yeah,
like terrible, terrible things to him and to his followers. And not just him, by the way, like all the prophets. I just think it's very admirable, because we live in a world that seeks very much to crush us and turn us into miserable people.
yeah, yeah. And that kind of goes back to like like even this whole being spiritually fit concept. Something's the way someone else broke it down to me also was blame versus responsibility. Like if we go back to that example of that guy that's competitive, or even the guy that used to be a bully and still somewhat is, I can sit there, right, and I can blame them for who they are, how they are, and everything. But at the end of the day, like I'm responsible for how I react. I'm responsible for me. They're not responsible for they're responsible for their actions. Um, but I'm responsible for how I react to those actions. And that's kind of what's been on my mind lately is just, how do I respond? How does Azim respond to these situations? Am I gonna, like I could blame him for being a really like mean guy on the basketball court. I could blame him for that, you know. But at the end of the day, if he says something and I punch him in the face, I punched him in the face, you know. Like yeah. I do have, just like we said, natural human reactions. I can think about being mean right back. Like even to that bully, I could also hit him in the face. I'll be honest, like that's a thought that popped in my head. Uh, but how I choose to react to it is on me. And also how to re-navigate my emotions. Like just like when I went to go shake his hand, uh, it was I purposefully like that bully's hand. I purposefully did that to help myself have compassion for him. Um, versus like me just being angry about it, him living rent free in my head, you know. And don't get me wrong, right? Like certain situations, just like that bully, like like I said earlier, maybe I haven't fully let it go because I remember Maybe it was like a few weeks ago where it was bothering me again. Remembering him, uh, because I found out that this guy is. I found this out, right? I'll just tell you, right? And this is how crazy my mind works. Is I found out through my mother that the same bully guy is getting married, or he's courting this girl. Um, they don't live in Houston; they live somewhere else. And the bully's mother told my mother. My mother relayed the story to me, and she said they went to go, family one, like the bully's family. They went to go see the girl's family, and then the girl's brother says, "Oh, so where are you from? Houston. Which side? Northwest. Oh, Bear Creek." He's like, "Yeah." It was like, "Do you, is that near, like close to Prairie View?" And I was like, "Yeah, not really." And he was like, "Do you happen to know an Aazim from Prairie View?" Now, mind you, I still don't know who these people are. Um, but when this story was relayed to me, it, like I was just like, "Oh wow, that's interesting." Then a couple of days later, when I re-remembered the situation that happened with this guy, where I met him after so many years, and immediately his first instinct is just to put me down. All of a sudden, like, dude, like a well thought, calculated, evil plan came into my head. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go see the same bully at Juma. I'm gonna relay the same story to him. Ask him who the girl's brother is. Once I figure out who he actually is, I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna tell him how much of a horrible person this bully is. I'm gonna say you should not let your sister marry this guy because he's really evil. And I'm just telling you, like, honestly, like this was my thought process. And then, like, I had to step back. I was like, bro, what the hell? I was like, oh my god, I don't like this guy so much. I'm gonna triangulate by like messing up someone else's relation, like, like ruining a situation not only for like the bully, but like the bully's family and that girl's family. Like, marriage is a good thing. And I'm out here to seek vengeance by destroying a good thing, like just because I want personal, like, revenge. Like that's just insane. And again, like it had to come back to like, yo, like I need to have a place of compassion. Like, yeah, sure, this guy's mean, but like, that same saying that I said, justice for everyone or mercy for everyone. He's, know, I'm married. I'm happy. I really wish the same for this guy. Like I want him to be happy and to enjoy the everything that comes with marriage. Like it's a nice life. Like, I want him to have a best friend. Like my wife, at least for me, I don't know that I'm my wife's best friend, but she's one of my best friends. And she's cool. And like that's a really nice experience. And and I would want that for everybody. So, everyone deserves that. Everyone. Um that's kind of how like I've been learning, like I said, learning to re-navigate my emotions. And yeah, yeah.
What a wonderful story, man. Thank you for sharing that. I
No
love how
problem.
it's so raw, it's so human. Like
Yeah,
it's you just like this is the honest me. I love that. That's
yeah.
great.
I appreciate that, man. Because like honestly, like that, like I said, like human emotions are natural. Like anger is natural. Feeling hurt is natural. Like negativity is natural. Like it's a natural thing.
Yeah,
Life is hard
and
sometimes.
it's making me think like that. that guy, the brother that somehow knows you. It's making me think of how there's like people that, for example, both you and I know, but we perceive them in a different way. Like we might
Mm.
know the same person, and that person might be a great friend to me, but to you, it's like, oh, I hate that guy, and vice versa. Isn't that so
Yeah,
interesting that there's just so many different people out there, and me and you, are like that to different people as well that know us.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember my aunt; she explained to me this story of how when all the souls were gathered before Earth, um, some souls were grouped up with certain people, and other souls were grouped up with other people. And so apparently, when we're here on Earth and we meet different people, there's some people that we just magically click with because we remember them from before. And there's some people we just don't really recognize them, and so it just doesn't vibe. And I think that's a very liberating thing because then you can meet people. And for myself, for example, it helps with that guilt of sometimes being like, man, why am I not getting along with that person or this person? I'm doing everything right, so to speak, but it's just not working. And then that explanation, that understanding, it gives me some peace. It's like, I don't have to feel guilty about this. Some people you just don't vibe with. You could be the most sincere, best way to someone, and it just doesn't work. And that's that. Not everybody has to like you. You don't have to like everybody.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to like everyone. That is true. Um, but I feel like at the same time, you can at least have compassion for everyone, you
Yeah,
know? And at least for me, like I would not phrase it as I don't like everyone. I think I would say, just like I just like the term. I'm just not spiritually fit to handle some people. That's okay. It's okay.
I like that too.
Um, yeah. It's just, yeah. It's not that I don't like certain people. You know, I'd like to say that I like everyone, and but some people, maybe I'm just not spiritually fit. They're still human beings at the end of the day. Like, like if we look at everyone is just trying to do better, you know, get better. Like everyone's just trying to get by with life. Like we're all just trying to do the same thing. Um, and when I look at it like that, like it's just like that allows me to just say, okay, that's just another human being, just like me. Like where have I, like I've probably been a bully to, I most definitely have probably, most definitely, not probably, most definitely have been a bully to people. I have, I have. So like, and even just like how we always talk, like there's so many commercials about bullying and all that. That's just a human experience, dude.
Yeah,
Whether you're a bully or have been bullied, like it's just a human experience, and that allows me to like even have compassion for this guy.
I very
Yeah, he's
much
a bully.
believe in this idea though it of character building. Bullying, I definitely believe, is character building. And now that I'm older, it doesn't sit in my mind as much. Like it's in the back of my mind. It's like, oh yeah, that's just character building. Not to say that bullying doesn't exist anymore. It still does exist in the adult world, behind different masks and social gestures and whatnot. But I just don't see it the same way. It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think bullying right away.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see bullying now that you're older? What is your perception of it in the adult world?
Um, it comes off different ways. Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't even say it's bullying either. Um, man, like honestly, yeah, this one's a hard one. I like, I just I notice certain actions that people take, and again, like people are just doing like they're taking actions in what they think is the best manner. Um, how it's perceived to one person might be different to another person. Um, you know, I might take something, right? This is uh theoretical, but like my brother says something to my sister, or one of my brothers says something to my sister. My sister might not have any reaction to it whatsoever, but in my mind, I'm like, oh, that was the way you said that, that was mean or something. And it's like, no, like I don't want to use this example, because that there's actually a real one. But I don't know who may end up listening to this podcast. I don't want to get fired. Um,
You can feel free
like
to share whatever you want or you don't want. No pressure.
okay, okay, yeah, I'll have to pass on this one. Yeah, I don't want to say mean things about. Yeah, yeah. Th- this goes back to me judging certain people's actions. Um, but uh, you know, like now, I don't really deal with bullying. I just it's kind of how I react to a situation. It's like if someone does something to me, right? Like I've realized that my mind has always um perceived situations like I realize like I like myself, I actually have a lot of anxiety, um which cause like unnecessarily, like my body thrives off of it for some reason. But anytime someone says something to me, or like when I'm not in a spiritually fit state, someone can say something to me and I will take it as, oh, that person's out to get me. And like really they're not. They're not. Like they're just telling me to do something, you know, um, or like they're just someone just said something to me, like, and it's like it depends on what my mood is in the moment, and like you know, like for example, somebody that like jokes with you all the time, like going back to trash talk, right? Like like as guys, like we trash talk each other here and there, right? Some guys do. When there's a lot of as my wife quotes it, when there's a lot of testosterone in the room, um, you know, certain people will bully each other, or trash talk each other, and like and say I'm in that situation. Say I'm having an off day. Someone says something to me that is like a normal trash talk. I may like explode because I'm just not in a good mood. Like I'm not in a spiritually fit state to handle it. And that, like again, that goes back to what I said about in terms of like me perceiving as people out to get me. Like I'm learning that the world is not out to get me. Like everything is okay. There's no real issues. Life
That's an
is just
amazing
okay.
statement,
Like
man. I'm learning that
yeah.
the world is not out to get me. It's profound.
Yeah.
Damn.
I guess, yeah. It,
We've
it
been
can seem
talking.
that way, right? Like
Uh-huh.
oh no, no. I was just gonna say like like the world has its issues, don't get me wrong. But like within the circle that I live, like within the bubble that I live in, like within my world, because we all have our little worlds. Um, everything's okay. Like, dude, like I have a roof over my head. I have food. Like, nothing is out to get me. Like, nobody is like barging into the house like with a gun drawn or something. Like everything's okay. Like, there's no issues. There's no issues.
Yeah,
Everything's
alhamdulillah.
okay.
Yeah, man. The sort of conversation that you're bringing into this is really optimistic. I like it. Recently, I watched this great film, Dungeons and Dragons, and oh my God, did I have fun watching that film? It's so funny. You know, it's like a family film. And what I really loved about that movie in particular, I realized, was Chris Pine's character. He's the main character of the film, and from beginning to end, he is optimistic like nothing I have seen in a Hollywood film before. Because I used to live by a creed of just optimism. Like even if something terrible's happening, just be optimistic, you know? And somehow that got kind of taken out from me, you know? It's not that I'm not optimistic anymore. It's maybe I'm a little more realistic in certain situations. But I realized one of the reasons that perspective was kind of shifted for me was because I didn't see an example like that where someone was like 100% optimistic in my personal circle. But watching that film, for some reason, it just exposed me to that. Like in the worst situation, this guy still kept his cool and he was optimistic. And I loved that. And yeah, it seemed like he was placed in so many spiritually unfit situations, but he still managed to navigate it, you know? So that's just something I wanted to mention.
Yeah,
That sort of optimism that I haven't really seen anywhere else in a character in film. In film.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. Alhamdulillah. Again, this goes back to, like I said, like I've been on a spiritual journey where, like, genuinely, I've just been like learning how to reconnect with Allah. Um, and I think that that plays a big role to it, because, like, honestly, like, I definitely get what you're saying, like, about this optimism, and I wouldn't say that I'm an optimist either. I just kind of like live in the moment now. Um, I'm just present, and uh, you know, uh, I I play back those verses of Surah Fatiha. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Guide me to the straight path, the path of those whom you favor, not the path of those whom earn your anger, nor of those who go astray. Um, and it's kind of like, you know, I can now perceive, right? Like just like I got hit with this workload today, that I mentioned earlier. That was Allah's will. Like that's just how I see it, right? Like it's just like that was destined to happen. Now, what I do about it, right? Like, knowing that Allah dropped this in my lap, then that means, if this came from Allah, then it's like, all right, Allah, allow me to do to follow your bidding, your will. Allow me to just follow it. Like, if this is what you want me to do, okay, then just grant me the strength to carry out what you're asking me to do. As opposed to being like, ah, man, this sucks. Being upset about something Allah dropped in my lap. Like, it's like, okay, He dropped it in my lap. Okay, well, obviously, right? Like, we also, in Islam, we talk about Allah doesn't give you something that you can't handle. Like, it's like, okay, He's dropping it in my lap, and
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. And this is what I loved about that character in the film, this idea right there. Like Allah does not give you something that you cannot handle. And that character in the film demonstrated that. Wow. I recognize that. That was really cool. And the beautiful thing about being Muslim, I remember hearing, is it's all rigged in your favor, beginning to end. Whatever happens to you can only be for good, which is a very powerful thing to remind ourselves.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It's
Yeah.
only for our benefit. Like, even, right? Like, every situation is a test. Like it's like we can either go towards Allah or away from Allah.
Mm.
And right, like again, going back to reaction, right? Like yes, it upset me at first that I got thrown this. And then like how I chose to like I had to step out of the step into the parking lot real quick, like take a breath, calm down, surrender myself, like literally just talk to Allah and just be like, all right, this is what you want, just help me out, help me figure it out. Then immediately like like how like we talk about like in khutbahs they always say anything that was good came from Allah, and anything that was bad came from myself and my own nafs. Like even like literally as soon as like I like let go of my like negativity towards the situation, immediately the thought in my head popped in. It was like, okay, let's like the whole concept of let's work late, let's just stay to till 5 today. Maybe I could continue on tomorrow, and that will lighten my load next week. I genuinely believe that those thoughts came from Allah, like to be put into my head. Like it's like, okay, like I chose to go towards Allah, and then Allah gave me an answer, like and told me this is how you do it. And
Oh
I'm like,
man, I
okay,
love that. You know, Sammy Hamdi, he came to UH about a month ago or so, something like that. Anyways, he said something very profound. He said, um, sometimes what happens is a person decides to take a step, and what Allah does is He says, okay, you just because you were bold enough to take a step, I'm gonna give you the blessing of correcting your trajectory. When I heard that, I was like, wow, how amazing
yeah,
is that sentiment? And what you just said, it reminds me of that. That's what it is.
yeah, absolutely, dude. Like I, you know, I genuinely see everything like now. Before I used to think, oh, I did this, I did that, everything. But like now I realize like even like these ideas, right? Like even thoughts in my head, like it's all because of Allah. Allah is putting these ideas in my head. Like someone said to me that like, you know, try to have like some quiet time alone with Allah, right? And instead of me just doing all the talking, just listen. And it's like that's basically what happened to me in the parking lot. Like it's like, you know, I I I said what I said, right? Like to Allah, like I was like, all right, Allah, just help me out with this. And then I stopped, and then immediately the thoughts came into my head, like, oh, this is how I should handle it. And it's like, and to me, like that's like, okay, Allah's telling me what to do here. And like that just yeah, just like you said, it's like one step, and then boom, everything else just lines up, man. And it's like, alhamdulillah, they'll line up. And not everything, right? Like here's the best part is I don't know what's in store for me tomorrow. For all we know, even though we're talking about this right now, tomorrow, right? Like I have the intention tomorrow that if I get some free time, I will continue working. But I don't know that that will happen. And it's also important to be not upset about that either, because it's like, oh, I really wanted this to happen and then it didn't happen. And then it's like, okay, like, well, then Allah didn't will for it to happen. And I know that as long as I do what I can, as long as I do the next right thing, Allah will take care of it. Like I know that even if I don't get to work tomorrow, I know somehow, some way, like I can just trust. All right, things will get taken care of before I leave out of town next weekend, inshallah. Like I know Allah has my back. Like as long as I do my part, is something I forget where is it? It's something along the lines of without me, God won't, and without God, I can't. So, like, without me, right? Like, if I don't
Mm,
do my part, Allah won't do it. And if I think that I can do it by myself, you know, that I don't, yeah, God
amazing.
won't. Yeah.
Dude,
Without
this has
God,
been
I
a,
can't. Yeah.
I loved this conversation. I really did. I felt like we went down so many different avenues and there's so much more to be said, like already as we've been speaking, there's so many more things I want to ask you and get your perspective on, but um we're coming close to an end. I'm curious, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say, but you didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
I just want to say I'm blessed, man. Alhamdulillah. I really appreciate you just asking me to just talk to you because, like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think we talked about this initially. I was just, I was just a little nervous about, you know, the concept of a podcast, the internet hearing what like misquoting me or something, being afraid of like saying things, saying the wrong things. Alhamdulillah, like this was just a really nice conversation. Um, And yeah, I'm truly, alhamdulillah, like I'm blessed by Allah that He allowed me to just be here with you. Also, great blessing. Like I have my family, I have my wife. Um, I have everything. Uh, yes, my wife is my greatest blessing, alhamdulillah. Just also want to share that. Yeah, she is my greatest blessing, alhamdulillah. I am a simp.
That's great. I love it.
So, yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. I think that's really everything, man. Like it's just I'm just really happy, man. Alhamdulillah. Like everything in my life is just okay.
Yeah,
Everything's
I'm very glad for you, man. I'm very happy for you. And
I appreciate
yeah,
it.
I'm very happy that we finally did this. You were definitely someone I've been meaning to talk to for a very long time. And we finally made it happen. You're episode 99. Can you believe that? It's wild.
Oh, that's crazy. Give me why.
99.
So,
Yeah, but I guess my closing sentiment would just be to going back to the beginning of all this. I just think it's so cool how I met you because, you know, that's how I formally met you. I'd seen you around the masjids, but I didn't really talk to you. That's how I formally met you. And it was that event that like put us into contact. And to the untrained eye, that's such a horrible situation. Like you would probably be at odds for the rest of your life or something like that. But that's not the case. Here we are and we're having this great conversation and will benefit whoever needs to benefit. And I think it's also like something hopeful to the people listening that sometimes you might get off on the bad foot with someone, like they say, first impressions matter, which they definitely do, but you never know how things can change over time. Someone you disliked once upon a time or were at odds with could suddenly become like a really good friend and vice versa too. It's
yeah,
an interesting way of the world. So yeah,
indeed. Indeed.
I think it's very cool that we did this. Thanks for being here. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it for me too. We got like 5 minutes. Nothing else from you?
Well, I mean, I guess on that note, then I gotta say thank you for ding dong ditching my house, man. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, no. Again, so that was the thing. So it wasn't me. Like there was four of us, right? And we were
Uh-huh.
ding dong ditching around the neighborhood. And then two of us, we just kind of got tired. We're like, all right, guys, I think we're done. And we started walking away. And these other two
Mhm.
guys were like, no, no, we're gonna keep going. So they went into your cul-de-sac and they did your house. And we're just walking like ahead. We don't even know what's going on. And then they start like chasing behind us, like run, run, run. And so we start running too, and that's when you pulled up. It was wild, wild.
That is interesting. That is interesting, man. I will say, if that happened, like if someone ding dong ditches my house today, I think I'll be better able to let it go. Um, you know, just let kids be kids. But Yeah, I guess in it's crazy, just like you said. Now, right? Like I wouldn't do that, do what I did back then, but it's crazy that how I reacted back then is a blessing now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this, but I was the last guy in your car, and you took me to my grandma's house, and my uncle opened the door, and you told him the whole situation, and he was just so casual, he dismissed. He's like, "Oh, okay." I don't know if
Oh
you remember
no,
this, but I remember this, and I was like, "Man, that is so funny." It's so funny.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
good times, good old memories.
interesting, interesting. Yeah, and see, like old me would have wanted vengeance.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that I probably got pissed off that your uncle was like super dismissive about the whole situation. I guarantee it. And alhamdulillah, I'm glad that I don't remember because like now it's like another thing that I can let go of because I don't remember it.
yeah,
Like I don't, yeah, yeah. Like I remember one specific kid, his dad dismissed it, and I was pissed. And then I also watched another kid that we dropped off, and his dad beat him right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh man, you know what? Never mind. I think I don't want vengeance."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The cool stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, thanks again for being here. Until
yeah,
next
yeah.
time, eh?
No,
Inshallah.
inshallah. Hey, bro, feel free to hit me up this Ramadan. Are you gonna be at the tent?
Maybe. Yeah, inshallah. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.